Welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us right now on iTunes, please go and leave a 5-star review. I'm going to read this great review. Oh my God, this is just too nice. This is from Motorola flip phone. We need more podcasts like this. Chrissie is this is too much. I feel like this is written by a family member. Chrissie is a very multi-talented human. Actually, my family would never say something this nice about me. Chrissie is a very multi-talented human. As a person who voted Republican for the first time this past election, I am happy I found this podcast. Well, thank you, Motorola flip phone. I appreciate it. I love these reviews so much. They really do like brighten my day. And I sometimes, you know what I'm going to do is like when I move, I'm going to get like a board. I'm going to laminate all these reviews basically. And I'm just going to hang them up and look at them. And when I feel sad. You know what doesn't make me sad is One Soul Shoes. Dun, dun, dun. It's our new sponsor. I'm very excited to talk to you guys about One Soul Shoes. One Soul is the original interchangeable shoe that began in 2001. It's an interchangeable shoe that you can change hundreds of tops on hundreds of on different soles. No, the idea is that it's one sole, literally like the name, and you can change the tops. Like they just snap on and off in seconds. It's known for its comfort and it's the perfect shoe for traveling because you really only need one sole and a handful of tops. There are hundreds of different tops available, but One Soul is known for the comfy neoprene top that fits your foot like a glove. Oh yes, they're talking about it right here. You can even customize the tops with any photo or logo that you want. Oh, I should get some for the podcast. It has been featured on ABC News as best product made in America, and it was on the season finale. It was the season finale winner of Shark Tank. It's sold throughout the world and was created by a pharmacist, Dominique McLean-Barteet. Ooh, and if you go to onesoulshoe.com and you use promo code CMP, you're going to get 25% off of your whole order. These are super cute. And in fact, they did send me one. And I will show you how it works. For example, let's say you get this. Boom, sassy. You're ready for a night out, you know? Great. You don't want to bring a lot of shoes with you. And let's say you just want to switch it up. Bam, really quick. Let's say you're going to a Trump rally. Because this is what they sent me. I was like, this is great. It just snaps on in like a second. Boom. You don't have to bring like 5 different shoes with you on vacation because you literally just have this one sole, a bunch of different tops. Super comfy, cozy. I don't know. I think this would be great. If I had like, my mom was still alive, I would definitely get these for her. Sorry, I didn't mean to go dark on everyone, but go to One Soul Shoe. Again, the website is onesoulshoe.com. Use the promo code CMP. You're going to get 25% off of your order, which is a pretty sweet deal. I don't know if you guys are good at math. That's like a fourth. That's like a quarter of the price. I'm so excited to have these two. I have two, better than one. These two people on the podcast today. Here they come. I'm adding them in. One is a libertarian. Basically, they're both hosts of the Propaganda Report. Monica Perez is a libertarian writer and also one of the host of the Propaganda Report, also propagandareport.com, and her propaganda obsessed co-host, Brad Binkley. How are you guys?
Great. Thanks for having us. I am dying for those shoes. I mean, I know so many people who would go with the Trump logo shoes. It's genius.
And this is like exactly, I feel like what like women who go to Trump rallies would wear.
Yeah, I mean, like I have gone to rallies like that in DC, and it's just a sea of fanny packs. But if those shoes,
yeah,
I mean, it would sea of those shoes.
I've seen a lot of bedazzled people. I've seen a lot of women like dressing up their dogs at Trump rallies. I've seen a lot of sequins, bright colors. Trump women love bright colors. And you know what? Like, what's wrong with that?
Bells. A lot of Southern bells down there.
Yes, a lot of Southern bells. I want to know
the contrast now between the Kayleigh McEnany and the new Jen Psaki, the new White House press secretary. One's very progressive, obviously, just by look. You can tell one's very conservative just by the look.
Yes, and I hate to shit on another redhead. I hate to talk smack about a fellow ginger sister, but come on. It's like you go from gorgeous Kaylee or Kayla, I can't say your name right, but to Jen Psaki or whatever. And she's just like, come on, doesn't she have any gay friends? The other day she was wearing orange. I was like, girl, what are you doing? You can't be a redhead wearing orange. I don't know.
She's the female intellectual. She can't be bothered with looking good. What does she define herself by sex? That just, I mean, that's beneath her.
She's too smart and too busy to look good. But the last one looked pretty good. She was pretty busy. So
it's like Fauci's too busy to learn how to throw out a ball. Remember that? No, that was
speaking of her gay friends, Fauci can throw a ball.
Yeah. That's I mean, I'm like, damn. I'm like, if they were other balls, he could have thrown them. I don't know. That was gonna go somewhere gross with that, but I'm gonna try to keep it professional.
Just for the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We don't often go too long without getting gross sometimes.
Okay, good. Okay, whew.
Sometimes.
I want to know, what is an anarcho-capitalist? I had never heard of that phrase before reading your website.
So I'm kind of I'm transitioning from anarcho-capitalist. So an anarcho-capitalist is where you think that where it's true that society is self-ordering. So like, why in a restaurant do people leave tips? There's no law. It's not on the thing. They can't call the cops on you. You do it because you want to eat at that restaurant again, or you have a sense of justice or pride, or the people at the table would look at you funny. Or, okay, and like, if you were to carry a bunch of expensive things from one place to another, you would hire someone to be your security. Or if you built an apartment building and a mall, you would build the road. Like, society is self-ordering because of capitalism, not because of government. But so I totally adopt or accept the anarcho-capitalist handle. It's a Murray Rothbard thing, but I've started to move away from it because the way they've totally corrupted money, like fiat money, greenbacks, they're like not connected at all to like a real store of value, which is what money should be. And it's like a great way to put your surplus in like a bar of gold. Like, capitalism is good in that way, but they've corrupted it so much that I'm actually moving to what's called agorism, which I'm not great at. I'm just like an aspiring agorist. But the idea is to even move away from the money thing and like trade stuff, or don't do transactions above board so that you don't have to pay taxes. You can use their money, or you can move beyond their money, or you can trade avocados for chicken eggs, whatever it is. But it goes to like the gray markets. It's kind of anarchy beyond anarcho-capitalism, I think. But
yes, I like that.
They're great at it. So I'm learning more about that. But I'm giving up on the capitalist thing because they've just corrupted the money. It's no longer a store of value.
And that means, like, I know that they've printed too much money and that the money loses value. That's pretty much all I know. And that it means more if it's like gold or silver backed, because I don't know, those are fancy, heavy minerals.
Well, it takes longer to make more of it. That's why people like Bitcoin, because they said like it's a finite amount. Now, I don't understand it enough to say, oh yeah, trust me, it is. I really don't. But they say it's a finite amount. So the more demand there is for it, the more the price goes up, and you can't just go in and create more. So you're always having like a percentage of all the value in the world. But like, in gold is kind of like that. It's very expensive to get more gold out of the ground. So you can't just create it out of thin air. Whereas dollars and then digidollars, which is the next step, that's going to be even worse. And I've just
why is Bitcoin finite? Do you know anything about that? Like, why is it finite?
They say there's like X amount of combinations or whatever that you can mine. I really don't know how it works, but the theory is that because it's finite, you cannot distort the value over time.
Yeah.
Ooh. Like, it means more. To me, it seems like the money that's like not going to put out on a first date. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely got its legs crossed.
You have to court crypto. You have to,
you definitely have to coax it, because I don't even know how to buy one.
It's very mysterious. It's like, and then if anything, I could give you a little tiny piece of ass. I'm not going to give you the one whole piece. You have to get a fraction. I don't know. A
fraction of an ass. I asked my husband if I could buy Bitcoin in my 401k, and he laughed at me. So I guess it hasn't. Not ready for prime time.
Yeah, these are overwhelming times because we have like what seems like a brand new. I know cryptocurrency has been around for a few years, but I think most people haven't really heard about crypto until last year. So I'm sure a lot of people are like, "Oh God, there's new money, there's a new financial system going on. I don't know what's happening. The government is tricking us." Like I feel like a lot of people are like had a rude awakening last year. It just feels like a lot of rugs have been pulled out from the general population. Of course, like us weirdos that have been like studying this stuff for a while and have seen some of this coming down the pike. It seems that the general population is not sure who to trust in terms of news. How do we separate fact from fiction? And then you get into layers. The longer you look into this stuff, people are just now figuring out what is a false flag. So how do we explain these terms and separate reality from garbage, basically, for folks who are confused and maybe distrusting, not trusting, not knowing who to trust, not knowing who to listen to.
Yeah, none of them really. Don't listen to any of them in the
Yeah,
mainstream.
because like the propaganda is the first layer of that you've got to peel through before you can even get to where the truth is. How do you recognize propaganda?
I knew that oh man, it was such a big moment for me. It was like March or April. I was looking through a People magazine because my boyfriend's mom just gives me her People magazines when she's done. And I sort of I like them because it reminds me of like my mom. We would read just trashy Inquirer, like tabloid stuff. And you're like, oh, that's fun. And sometimes you do learn a thing or two. But I remember I saw it was Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom and a couple other celebrities that had Fauci gang sweatshirts on, and a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, oh my fucking God, this is of course propaganda. These people, these cool cats they're not going to Vistaprint and getting Fauci gang sweatshirts printed and sent to their house. I was like, there's no way. I was like, and it's just like, it's one thing if you're like, oh, this is my sweatshirt I got from my coffee sponsor. Oh, this is my, free One Soul shoe. Sometimes celebrities endorse products and it makes sense, but to see a Fauci gang sweatshirt that had nothing to do with their brand as celebrities, none of the products they push or companies they work with, it's not like, oh, it's cool, you're a celebrity, you have your own gin company, great, good for you. I was just, oh my God, like they're in bed together. And I'm not buying a second of it.
Absolutely. Bernie just made like $20 million off of the memes everybody made. Everybody made all these memes. They turned them into t-shirts and hats, and he raised like $20 million.
Did that money get back to Bernie at all? Did he trademark his mitten?
I think his campaign did get a lot of it. Yeah.
That's good. Good for them.
You make a good point though. Like the Fauci stuff, it's not their sponsor. Like who are they really sponsoring? Who's paying them to sponsor Fauci? And I remember seeing like they kind of behind the scenes with celebrities, they have to pick a charity because it's for PR. But Fauci isn't really a charity. He's the highest paid government employee.
He is. Yeah.
Why does he need a gang? He's like for all intents and purposes, he's like a losery government guy. Yeah, it's like, we don't need a gang for Pelosi. It's like, I don't know. Why does this guy why do we have to make him cool? Like, and it's the thing is like, oh, we have to make him cool. So it's like the filtering down of trust, right? It's like, people don't really trust politicians or whatever, scary scientists. So it's like, oh, but we trust our celebrities. So
it's just personality cults. It's the same thing. And Trump was the same thing, in my opinion. There wasn't any meat on those bones.
Yeah, they're all studs in comic books too. Fauci and Biden and even Trump, they turned into literal like studs in these kids comic books you can get on Amazon.
God, really? That's gross.
Yeah, I got them for Monica for Christmas.
Yes, I couldn't believe it. I was so blown away. Like it was about Christmas time, and this friend, she was like my mom's best friend's daughter, so not related, but like kind of close family friends. I saw she posted like Fauci is such a hunk. I was like about to throw up. I was like, wow, I have to unfollow this person.
Yeah.
I was just like, how did we
goes
get
with
here?
the shoes.
Okay, that's fine. That's I'll accept Trump.
Well, it's fine because he's like a superhero. The other guys
And just look how ripped the other two are. Biden looks like he's about to.
He's almost
like,
80.
why doesn't he have a shirt on? He's in the kitchen. Is that sanitary? Do I want your pit hairs or do you shave your pits? Like, I don't. Why is this picture what
does this need to exist?
Wash your hands.
He's like Mario Lopez in that KFC movie where he plays the sexy chef, the KFC chef. We're gonna have Fauci in that next time.
Right. Isn't that sad? It's like do they think we're so dumb that it's like if there's just an idea that they're these sexy cool dudes that we won't listen to what they say? It's like, do they really think that little of us?
What they did with it was they made it so they could probably get 0 people to fall for that until they said, if you don't fall for it, you like Trump. And then they got half the people to fall for it.
Yep. Yeah. That's what it was. It's like, yeah, you're not going to go for these lame old dudes, but it's like, oh, but if you don't, you're a white supremacist. Oh, got it. Okay. Sign me up.
But if you like Fauci and Biden, you're not a white supremacist. It's like, but they're controlling everything. They're old white guys.
The CCP gang. Yeah.
Yeah, they really are. Great reset.
Icky. Those are really funny. Did somebody send those to you, or you like saw those?
Binkley sent them to me. These are my Christmas presents from Binkley.
Oh my God. Are those coloring books? Or those just like
they're coloring books, and I was going to put them on my dining room table. I live in LA. I was going to put them on my dining room table and see like which ones got colored in the most. So of course, my daughter was like, "Oh my gosh, Mom, that's so great! I didn't know," and I'm like, "Yeah, right, whatever." I don't like to make too many waves. She wants to fit in around here.
How old is
she?
It's
called Hot Cup of Joe.
She's 16, and but my other son, I have a son who has Down syndrome who turned 18, and they can take away all of his rights. They'll take away every single right. He cannot get married or go out on a date without asking me. Like that's what the court ruled. But they would not take away his right to vote, which I don't care about at all. But he voted for Biden, and I'm so glad because it doesn't really matter. And he tells people so that when the riots come down my street, if that ever does happen, it's going to be looking for Trump supporters or whatever. I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm a libertarian, but I'm certainly not a Biden supporter. But I have this kid, like, with his little Biden T-shirt on and everything. And
wow. Yes. If an angry mom comes to your door, just show them the coloring book. Be like,
just put this kid out there who's got Down syndrome. She cannot lie. And he's like, Biden's president. And I wanted him to vote for Kanye. But he wanted to, and I'm sure, he's just taught in school. He's just taught in school who to vote for. It's like, okay.
That's good. That's good that you're not like, I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of parents that kind of like shove their political views like down their kids' throats. Like kids shouldn't really care about politics until they care about politics. Well,
plus they have to fit in. Like you can't put that on them. Let them fit in. And then when they get a paycheck or have a baby, they're going to be like, oh,
wow.
Socialism is a terrible idea. I'm a worker. I'm the one who has to earn a living. I don't want socialism.
Wow.
But it seems what you said before about like layers of propaganda. It goes down. This is what I was interested in talking to you about. Is the layers of propaganda kind of start like with Binkley's propaganda obsessed. We have the propaganda report, which is we look at all the mainstream media and we just try to tell people what it really means. Like the facts are there or they're lying and why, because it's never like we're telling you this because we care about you and we want you to be safe and healthy and we love democracy. Thank you. So the first layer is what is the propaganda really telling you? But they've now gotten so sophisticated that they throw a lot of fake stuff in there. So I know people who were there on January 6th in DC. They were all there to just kind of support the electoral.
I was there.
Mm-hmm. But then they throw this other thing, like Proud Boys and even Trump. Like I think those guys are all setups from Trump to Proud Boys to everything. Even though I support those crowds, those people that you're showing there, I think there's more to it than that. I mean, I kind of think, there's probably more to it even than that. I don't know if they're going forever. But like, where do you stop? Because you had to stand up as a comedian and kind of own having at least an open mind. But you got to be pretty confident before you take that bullet, I would think.
Kind of, yeah. I think I was at an advantage. It really was such a journey for me because when I started doing stand-up, I was about that whole life. I like graduated with liberal arts communication degree, women's studies minor, card-carrying feminist, openly hating men. I was doing all the right things that would guarantee me success in comedy.
I was about to say, it's like every open mic night I've been to, the female comedians have gone on very openly against men, at least in Atlanta.
Yes, you have to. You must. I was living in Brooklyn. I was doing everything right. I was making all the right moves. And I just wasn't really going anywhere. And I was like, okay, well, comedy's hard. You got to put in your dues. Everyone's saying you got to find your voice. It takes 10 years to get anywhere. Okay. And then I'm like, nothing's really popping off for me. And it didn't feel right. And then as I got older, my sense of humor evolved into like less PC. And I was like, yeah, everybody laughs at stereotypes. And I started doing characters on Compound Media, which is Anthony Cumia's network. And he was the other half of Opie and Anthony. They were a very popular radio duo from like the 90s and the early aughts. And it was called the Free Speech Network. And I think, and I don't know if this is like out of sequence of the timeline, but a combination of like finding my comedic voice to be a little bit more like risque, joking about like sex stuff. But I was also at the time for 6 years hosting a stand-up show at the Stonewall Inn, which is a New York City and national gay landmark. It was this, the site where the Stonewall riots happened and beginning of like gay liberation movement. And I did that for 6 years. It was a really great show. And I think people didn't know what to make of me because they knew me for the 6 years where I hosted that show and being like, I'm doing all the right things. I'm a feminist. I hate men. Or like, ugh. But I was still hosting that show while I started to do characters on Compound Media. And then people, I think, didn't know where to put me. And a few times there was like a comic who came after me for doing impressions of her, like cancel culture from like within, and I got hit with like even just a few other times. Like I was in Utica. I did a video called like shitty tours of Utica. And it was just me like being like, oh my God, like, look, this office is for sale. If you have a shitty office, like didn't even put thought into it. It was just like me and my boyfriend were walking around Utica. And I was like, this building is for sale. It comes with a free in-ground pool. And the in-ground pool is really just a foundation that's unfinished and full of rainwater. So I'm just like giving just a shitty tour. And I'm like, oh, well, this is the best bar because it's the only one that's open. And she's the bartender. It just was like very unclever. We were bored. And a local Utica radio station caught wind of it. I don't know, couple months later. And then that was a big backlash. People from Utica being like, how dare you? Because I was like, in Utica, I'm a 10. But in New York City, I'm a 2. And then they were like,
couldn't laugh at themselves. It's Utica.
Well, that's the thing is,
I'm
like,
from
people.
Rockland County. So,
nice.
Yeah, upstate New York. I'm
guessing Utica's a place in New York. I have no idea what Utica is.
Yeah, it's upstate. It was really great during, I think, the industrial era, and then it just was right the 70s.
River, something.
That's what
started on a river, probably.
Started to go in the 70s. People were like, "Bye." I guess when China started taking our jobs. I don't know. I don't know the timeline. But publicly, I'd have people hating me, be like, how dare you? Not all of us are on meth. And then privately in my DMs, they'd be like, yeah, we really do have a meth problem. Yeah, we really are all on meth. You have a few points. So like over the years of just staying in comedy and people it seems like someone tries to cancel me for something every 6 months, like whether it's a joke, like I tweeted a joke about a parrot who was barking. I'm like, look, this bird is transitioning. And then I had people being like, you're a whack ally. You don't deserve to host a show at Stonewall. I'd be like, fucking relax. And then you're like, oh, these people are mad at me because I never booked them. Or like, oh, these people are mad at me because they don't think I deserve to host a show at the Stonewall because I'm not like a lesbian or whatever. It's like so narrow-minded, these reasons that people dislike you.
Funny if you can't make jokes about stuff like that. And actually the only thing there is left to make fun of is like you got to make fun of yourself or something stupid like shithole. Like there's nothing else you can do. You can't even actually point at real deviations from standards and norms because we don't even share that many of those anymore. So like you've got at some point you have to realize the low-hanging fruit or the stuff. Like I always thought that about the Chappelle show. His show was hilarious because it was hilarious, no question about it. But nobody else was doing it. Nobody was touching that stuff. So he had all that low-hanging fruit there. And it was obvious that he was not a racist or coming at that culture and anything, but you know what? There are drug problems. Why don't we talk about that? Like there's STDs, like we can talk, you can laugh at it and not think it's something that we want, but you got to laugh at something. There's going to be nothing left. And then it's just a circle jerk of people talking about politics, kind of the way Carlin got at the end, which I love Carlin, but he wasn't even funny at the end. He was just like, I'm just calling you stupid. I'm calling you stupid for voting, and it's like not funny. It was just true.
You're just being yelled at. Yeah. And I think that's what like comedy follows the culture, I guess. Right. And so it's like, we've been so careful to protect everybody and everyone's in a protective bubble. And it's like true unity, true equality is we should be able to make fun of everybody. There's no anything should be able to be joked about. It's like, if you say something in poor taste or like the punchline is not worth your setup, well, then that's a bad joke. But I personally think that like any topic can be made funny. Anyone can be made fun of. It's just like whether it's a good joke or a bad joke, whether, and all the things that have to do with that. It's like, do you have personal experience? Like Monica, like you have a son who's like has Down syndrome. If like you could make a joke about him if you were a comedian, because that's your personal experience. Like
borderline untasteful jokes about how when like the spam callers call, I have him answer the phone. And hilarity ensues.
Oh my God.
You're exploiting him like it's everybody's getting what they want here.
Like I've also kept him alive. Yeah.
But the thing about how you should be able to make fun of everything, I've noticed this about people in other countries, that a lot of times it's very hard for humor to translate to another country. It's really, really hard. And I've concluded it's because we don't have the same norms. We don't have the same place where we're starting. So if you do get people to laugh, you immediately connect that you share values. And when people share values, they are on each other's side because you realize the other person's going to try to promote a world that you want to live in. I mean, I think it's really profound. And to eliminate it makes it impossible for us to connect, find those other people.
It's going to be niche audiences. It's going to be niche audiences like podcasts and everything. I think they're already starting to emerge where libertarian comedians, conservative comedians, liberal comedians, it's all going to break off. Just more progressives and liberals are in the entertainment community right now that it just seems more prominent there. But I'm seeing the niche entertainment art start to kind of emerge a little bit.
Right. And to get back to your question, Monica, like how do you, it's just like I was being woke. I was saying and doing all the right things and it didn't really propel my career. So I felt like I had nothing to lose by growing into my own authentic self and authentic sense of humor. And once I started to do that, my followers went through the roof, and like not just in numbers, but like people coming to my stand-up shows. Like in 6 years of hosting at the Stonewall Inn, I never had like people like like they were more tourists in and out, but like people
to you.
People wouldn't like follow me, keep up with me, join a mailing list.
So you were reaching them. You were reaching a deeper truth.
Yeah, and I was like, oh wow, it just was like, it's like when you take the treadmill off all the settings and it's just so easy. It was weird. I was like, oh, I'm used to putting in so much work and getting nothing back, and now I'm just pointing myself over here and I'm getting all these people coming in that are fans. And I was like, well, I don't really have the luxury of being like, oh, I would never have a Republican as a fan. I'm like, no, I'm not. Are you kidding me? If you laugh at me, great. I'm not going to be picky and say like, I mean, I'm not better than anybody. Like if you like me and find me funny, great. Like come aboard. So I was getting more out of this kind of, I guess, I don't know if you would call them more libertarians, more conservatives, more Republican types, just not woke, not progressive. And I found that these people that like come to comedy shows, they're really much more supportive people. So that made it so much easier because I was like, well, I wasn't getting anything from the left anyway. I wasn't getting late night comedy spots. I wasn't getting like Comedy Central. I wasn't getting management. So I was like, you know what, let me just like kind of do my own thing. And you see people around you doing it and building names for themselves, like Aaron Berg and Louis J. Gomez. So I was like, you know what, this can be done. And this feels better anyway. And, it just was such a blessing to start this podcast last year, like during the lockdowns, because stand-up was not really happening. And I was like, I got to do something. So in May, I like jacked this podcast up to like 4 times a week. and it's helped. And now I'm getting to the point where I have stand-up touring dates again, like starting next month. So it's like we'll see how those do. I'm really excited. I think it's gonna be great to perform for a lot of new fans, like podcast fans. So it'll be exciting.
It's probably true that that crowd is more of a real world crowd. Like they're people who can they can do stuff, like construction workers, or like in my case, a lot of people like our homestead. I get a lot of connections with people who are learning how to grow or already know how to grow their own food. And
oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
It's not going to be where you get like a gig on Comedy Central, but it's actually, if these people can survive. And I think Trump was put into place to destroy that subculture. And it's like not even a subculture, it's the backbone of the country, really. But I think if it can survive, that's where the actual power is going to be, not like necessarily just the culture for your purposes, but the real power for where are you going to turn? What if you don't want to just bend the knee and get Great Reset and put your kid into a digital tube for the rest of his life, a virtual world, where are you going to go? And you're going to find through this network, I think, that communities where people are actually taking action. I'm not an action taker, but I know a lot of people who'll do it. Like, we're setting up a town in Mexico and we're all just going to live there, or somebody I get 2 boxes of like seeds and stuff. You wouldn't believe it. Somebody sent me a kratom plant. Hopefully.
Ooh, just some guys spreading their seeds, sending me seeds. Monica, did you say that Trump was put into power to like suss out all the patriots? Is that basically what you're saying? Like, like just destroy farmers and like, really?
That's what I think.
Damn.
Yeah. I know,
that's conspiracy. I mean, that's like
because look where they are. And I have to say, I predicted it when he got elected. So 4 years ago, I was like, these people are going to be the untouchables. And Hillary named them the deplorables. And that's just what they're going to be. It's called enhancing a dysfunctional subculture, or report from Iron Mountain, which is an old conspiracy doc from the 60s, calls it a despised minority. And they're doing it to make them and everything they do, including arm themselves and grow stuff. I'm waiting for them to put growing things into that basket of deplorables.
It's like, look,
they're talking in World Economic Forum about how food is in. They're saying food and World Economic Forum. What Ice Age Farmer said, they're saying food's going to be scarce.
Yeah, so maybe they'll just take that away from us, rather than they don't have to shame you. They can just say, well, chickens have COVID. It's a bird flu or swine flu. That's what
chickens will refuse to allow Trump supporters to eat them.
These chickens have refused getting the COVID vaccine. We're going to have to put them in a gulag somewhere.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
It did definitely seem that way when during the pandemic there was some sort of a snafu with like farmers getting their food out. I don't know if it was meat or there was some kind of like distribution error. And like, I'm just seeing like clips of these like animals being pushed into ditches and stuff. And I was just like, why is this happening? Like, why
they don't want people to have animals. I don't know why. I mean, Ice Age Farmer, who we really like, might make a great guest for you. He was saying that because we're approaching grand solar minimum, not global warming, but global cooling, that the capacity of the earth to feed the human beings is going to go backwards, and they're going to have to do things that are more efficient, which he says is plant-based. Now, I believe, he's an expert. I kind of thought that X amount of plant protein makes X amount of animal protein, and you can either eat 10 times the amount of plants or 1 time the amount of animals. So like, what difference does it make? But anyway, that's his idea. But I would think in part it's because we're so well nourished when we have the variety of diet, and there's micronutrients that you can only get from animal meat, stuff like that, or animal fat, or whatever. You have to have, that's why we have canines and eyes that look forward. And it's just, that's natural to us. And if they want us to be, I call it, I want to be independently healthy. I didn't like Obamacare. I don't like the vaccines. I think diabetes or organ transplants or transgender people, they end up having to have drugs. They simply must have drugs to live, pharmaceuticals. And I don't want that. Like, I worry they want us all to have something that we must have. And
wow.
Like,
because not to cut you off, but like I just had like the more people that are convinced to be transgender, like let's say you have maybe you have other problems to work out, and maybe being transgender is not going to make you happier. But if powers that be can convince as many people as possible to be transgender, well, guess what? That's that many more people that are reliant on hormones and all these drugs just to be.
And it takes down the population element, the procreation element of this sexualized culture, at the same time that it just puts another category of people. Like, diabetics is a big category of people just absolutely have to have drugs to live. And I feel like if you're very well nourished, I mean, one of the things he was saying, or maybe it was Nora Gedgaudas, was another like nutritionist. She was saying that there are some micronutrients that you never get if you don't eat like organ meat once in a while or marrow. Wow. And we just don't. It's like been excised from our culture. And I feel like I take vitamins and stuff, but I don't think that's necessarily, you wouldn't need that in a state of nature. My family's from Brooklyn, so I'm not like eager to go. A state of nature for me, like there was not if you had a blade of grass, to me that was the country. So yeah. I'm not prepared for this. But
state of nature in Brooklyn is getting jerked off on in a park. You're like, ooh, I'm enjoying nature. Get me back in.
Yeah, right. A park is too much for me. You don't even need to jerk off. But anyway, so I feel like they may even want to just like make sure that we don't have a balanced diet, because that's kind of the foundation of being independently healthy.
Right. Wow. Because I have also heard, because I'm starting to see all this Impossible meat. It's in every fast food restaurant. I'm seeing all this Impossible meat stuff, like at the grocery store, like really pushed in a way I haven't seen in my 37 years of life. I'm like, yeah, we've always had veggie burgers. We've had Boca burgers, but now we're having this like, it's so close to meat, you won't even notice. And it's like, it's really being like shoved down our throats. And I've heard like, the conspiracy theories around that is like, the eugenicists or like the powers that be want us, the peasants, eating basically garbage, cow feed, getting less nutrient dense food, less animal meats, like what you're saying, and just eating, like corn and wheat, and getting bloated and less, a lot of that eating gives you brain fog after a while.
What the fuck is in it? What's in Impossible meat?
I'm gonna look it up right now.
It's
like,
just,
we
I
can't
saw the
tell
South
you,
Park
it's
episode on it. That's all I
It
know
looks
about
like
it.
meat, right?
That's the whole idea, is that you wouldn't realize that it's not a hamburger. I don't know if they've done a taste test where they've substituted a fake or Impossible meat for a real hamburger. Somebody thought they were getting a real one.
Why, isn't there like an inherent paradox in the fact that you want it to be meat? They're like, it's not good for you, but your body won't be happy unless it has it.
How far can we take this? It tastes just like human meat, but it's not human meat. Impossible cannibalism.
Did you see that freaking Chrissy Teigen video from over the summer? She was in the back of a cab. She was promoting some reality show, and it was her going, are you sure like you wouldn't have a tiny piece of human meat if you were at a fancy restaurant? And the guy was like, what? No, hell no. It was like,
they say crazy things about her.
In the back of this cab. That's where I got in a lot of hot water with her over the summer, because I was like, it was like around July. I was like, wow, a lot of celebrities have been busy since Ghislaine was arrested. Like, Chrissy Teigen, why'd you delete 30,000 tweets? And I'm an unverified nobody. But guess who responded to me? Chrissy Teigen. She was like,
did she?
Yes, I'm not gonna brag, but I feel like I was partially responsible for her Twitter meltdown over the summer, and then the subsequent targeting of Q people on Twitter. I mean, it was like a long time coming, I think, but she responded to my tweet and she's like, no, I actually deleted 60,000 tweets because people like you think I'm a pedophile, and it was like,
why would 60,000
so triggered? Exactly.
Somebody's pedophile.
Somebody with nothing to hide does not delete 60,000 tweets over the course of 48 hours. She was triggered by what I tweeted, and then next thing I know, I'm in 20 articles online And of course,
did you get more Twitter followers by the end? Did your Twitter
some, but then I got a lot of haters too. I got like people, my first few death threats, which was nice, and I was like, "Oh, I'm making it."
How do
And
you handle that? Do you not care? I don't like that stuff.
well,
I did have
to go to the police to report one of the things, but like other than that, no, I've been like canceled. Every time a comedian gets canceled, I swear to God, like I was about to say, like an angel gets its wings, but it's like you grow another. Your skin really does get thicker because every time an angry mob comes out, and I was angry mob in March when I did a Kung Flu Fighting. I did a spoof on Gal Gadot's Imagine. Remember when she sang Imagine with her and all her celebrity friends? They were gonna like really soothe the people with their song. And
like Super Nice Kitchens was
for some reason,
they're in these mansions, and you're just like,
I don't know why. I don't know why it didn't resonate with us. Somebody was like literally coming to you live from a beach, like someone's like in Acapulco. I was like, oh, you motherfuckers. And so me and some friends did like Kung Fu Fighting. We each sang a line to like everybody was Kung Fu Fighting, and we said like Kung Flu, whatever. And I had the whole woke Asian mob come after me for that. Very angry at me for that. But each time someone, group comes after you, just, that it will pass, never apologize because it will never be enough for these people. Yeah. It's like the famous Michael Malice line, like they want you dead, but they'll settle for your submission. And it's not about apologizing. It's just about you never, it's like bury yourself and never resurface again. Like don't ever work again. Don't exist. So it's apologizing will never, ever be the answer. And I think that's part of like your question before, Monica, like how do you get the courage to deviate from the norm? It's because it's like once you're sort of kicked off the woke boat, even if you are a woke person, it's like they're not gonna let you back on. Like that's really not. Yeah,
that's what I think. I'm woke. Like woke, they changed woke. I mean,
yeah.
Like 9/11 was an inside job. I'm woke.
Yeah,
I'm not
woke now means stupid. So people who are now woke.
Yeah, now you're awake, Monica. You're considered awake now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, but now woke, I guess, is just acknowledging that everything is
racist.
Yes,
everything.
That's what woke is. Everything is racist. Everyone you don't like is a white supremacist, and yeah. Socialism is good.
9/11 was an inside job that, if you focused on that stuff, sorry, I hope I'm not blowing up.
No, you're good.
If you focus on that stuff, everybody realizes, or like we used to talk about the militarization of police before Ferguson. If you focus on that it's us versus them, not black versus white, you have twice as many people on your team, know? So who's behind telling you that half of the country is benefiting from 9/11 when very few people are benefiting from it? So why aren't we focused on that? Why aren't we focused on the conspiracies that are real? That I'm not saying that racism is an element of our history and our present and for sure our future because it's got so much value, but we could actually focus on the people who are dividing us on purpose for their own power. I mean, it's so obvious. I don't understand how so many
sounds
people
pretty
don't
racist
get it.
to me. Sounds like a racist.
Sounds like that's your white privilege talking, to be honest. I think you should recognize your white fragility, and I think you should,
get on the anti-racist lifestyle.
So I have some despised minority connections. Can I not? I have no standing on that. Because I'm self-hating Arab married to a Puerto Rican. I don't know.
Ooh, very diverse. All right, you get points. You're back in the boat. You're back in the woke boat.
I'm really as like totally Brady Bunch raised, totally no culture whatsoever, suburban New York. But whatever.
Yeah, me too.
I think Sandy Ocasio isn't exactly the most oppressed of all. She went, she was Ted Kennedy's intern when she was in college. Did you know?
Oh, Ocasio?
Sandy Ocasio, who that was her name.
Is that not her? Wait. Did you change her name?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Cortez is like your mother's maiden name. So I have a friend whose name, like, I'm not going to say his actual name. It's like Lopez Diaz, but his name is Lopez. His last name is like Ricardo Lopez. And then if you wrote down like on your driver's license, you would put dash whatever Diaz, because that's your mother's maiden name. But really you go by Ricky Lopez. So I knew her name would be Sandy Ocasio. And it is like when you go back to her high school stuff. And then she said she was
which was in Yorktown. She lived in Yorktown from the age of 2.
Westchester. My God.
It was a tiny
into a
house,
wealthy white school.
AOC is from Westchester. Wow, that if people knew, my gosh.
They talk about it a little once in a while, you hear it, but it's always buried in a lot of Fox News hyperbole. So, but the real important thing to me is, first of all, I think the bartending thing is bullshit. And I would ask her like specific questions about
how do you make a Cosmo? Yeah, how to make an old fashioned.
Like a Cosmo, yes, but like what's the difference between a flip and a sour? So she should know the difference between a flip and a sour, which I doubt she will know. Although I think they taught her how to do it because she then started going on like, PR things with that. But before, remember the Jeopardy guy, Austin? He was like a little bit Aspergery. He was a he was a bartender and he like cleaned up on Jeopardy a couple of years ago. His thing, he was like a trivia whiz and he was super smart and he was super cool because he was a craft cocktail guy. And I remember thinking, I think they took her image from him. And I looked, and prior to that, she was a waitress. And there were no references to her being a bartender prior to that moment. And then, but I don't even buy into any of that because she went to BU. She had, Binkley and I have seen this, like she had a great resume. She was an entrepreneur.
Not just she had the best resume you've ever seen for a 20-year-old in your life. Could have got an interview at any Fortune 500 company. She'd started 3 companies by the time she was 20. She spoke regularly on the campus of Boston University. She had an economics degree, international politics. Yeah, she did a TED Talk and she started a media company at Boston University. And then all of a sudden, I'm just a bartender trying to get by. That's an image they create so she could
it was a lottery. My brother put my name in the lottery and I got,
my God.
I don't even know.
Oh my God. I feel hoodwinked by AOC right now. Yeah. Here's the thing. Here's what a real bartender goes through. I had a bartending job at the Patriots in New York City on Chambers and Church Street. I only worked there because there was a chalkboard sign outside that said Saturday night sluts welcome. And I was like, that sounds like the spot for me. I didn't have any experience. I was like, homegirl needs money. Let's do it. And I remember there was a night where a guy, I guess there was another bartender there that looked like me and her name was Patience. And, we would get a lot of early morning.
The old guys.
We would get a lot of early morning because it was near a construction site. We'd get guys coming in at 10 a.m. No big deal. 10 a.m. to start drinking.
Not craft cocktails. We're talking shots and beer.
This was very much just shots and beer and then like Creedence Clearwater Revival playing in the background.
Yeah.
Like jukebox. The jukebox was almost exclusively like CCR and like a few others. Yeah. And I remember like this was probably at night though. A guy came to me and said, "Hey, Patience, give me the birthday candles. It's my birthday." I was like, "What?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" I then learned that birthday candles was a thing you did, a thing that the Patience, who was the top bartender, made the most tips, did the best. And here's why. Because if you went up to her and said, "Give me the birthday candles, it's my birthday," did she check ID? No. Was there any kind of proof that it was your birthday? No. But what she would do is pull down her top and light what, the paper matches that split, light a match, split the match, put it on her nipple, light another match, split it, put it on the other nipple, lit matches. And then whoever's birthday it was could then blow them out. That's a real bartender.
Wow. Did you see this?
I never saw it.
Because but that is there's like a couple of things that are tricky about that.
I was like, I don't have the nipples for that. I'm so sorry, sir.
Yeah. Maybe one, but not both.
Sorry to disappoint you on your birthday, but I just don't have, I physically don't think I can do that.
So how much did you make? What was the most you ever made in one night there? Do you remember?
Oh, I did terrible because I started working there like after the economic downturn. I worked there after, who can be Patience? But I was working there like after the economy collapsed. So this was like 2008 or 9. Nothing I can remember. Like, and then I started working there, and then we all had to pool tips. So it's like,
forget it. I'm sure Patience was out of there. She's not
Patience
pulling
tips.
Not burn her nipples to pull tips.
I'm sure Patience went on to run for office. Yeah. Her name was Patience Cortez, actually.
Nice. Well,
grew up in Yorktown.
Like it's actually, her name was Patience Ocasio.
I always thought that Sandy's claim to fame was below the neck.
So wait, her real name is Sandy and she changed it to
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is the name that I'm sure is on her driver's license or her
She went
birth
by Sandy in
certificate.
high school. Yeah.
But she went by Sandy, and the last name of a name like that is the first of the two names. It's Sandy. You don't walk around, it's like as if you said your full name all the time, like whatever your mother's maiden name is your middle name or something. Like you don't do it like that.
But did you say you went to school with her, or you just like
No, I'm from Rockland County. She's from Westchester.
Right.
But I read a lot about her. Binkley too. We just read about her and Stacey Abrams as created persons. People who have these backstories, and they have funny little details in their history. Lady Gaga, Mark Zuckerberg, Donald Trump. I mean, they just have weird little details in their backgrounds. And you're like, these are not outsiders that just stumbled into these positions. And it just doesn't work that way.
Wow.
They're myths designed to appeal to certain target audiences.
Oh my God. To make it look like, anybody can do this. She's representing the people.
You trust them.
Yeah.
So you trust them because it's all about trust. They're not getting up there and saying, hey, you don't have to trust me because I'm going to explain to you a political ideology that is consistent with our foundational documents and makes sense and is also consistent with our morals, especially don't steal and don't kill. Like that would be my pitch as a libertarian. It's basically what Ron Paul said. So people are like, well, he's an inside job. He's fake. He's limited time. It's like, I don't care at all because what he says is real and true. He has a track record of bringing that stuff home, and you can measure what he does by the things he says, which you can also check with your own logic and the Constitution and books upon books that talk about that stuff. And Trump is like, Stacey Abrams is fat. And you're like, oh, wow. I love that guy.
I also think Rosie O'Donnell is fat. I'm with this guy. Yeah,
right. Rosie O'Donnell. Sorry, Stacey Abrams.
I'm sure he called a lot of.
I don't like to body shame. I literally don't like that because I like to attack people based on their ideas and their integrity. But
and Stacey Abrams is literally like 6'2" and she's massive. So you just look at her and you have to hold back from saying something, body shaming. And as soon as somebody says something, then I think they put her there on purpose because she is somebody that she looks like she could be a lesbian, might not be a lesbian. So she's got all these targets that they just bait people with. And then as soon as somebody says something, the New York Times and everybody else gets all over them and slams them.
Yeah. You're like, I don't know what she is, but she looks like she could dunk.
Absolutely.
Wow, this is so interesting. I had no idea. And I don't know, learning this kind of makes me feel less hopeful. Like, is there anybody who can ever represent us as a people? It's almost like you can't run unless you've got mega bucks. And if you have mega bucks, you're probably compromised or bought.
Yeah. I think there's one hope, which is it's so simple. It's so simple to think and to grow a potato. Like it's so simple that they have to spend all their time.
I'm growing one in my kitchen right now by accident.
Accident. My dog was eating potatoes like every day. And I said, what happened here? And there were these perfect little little tiny potatoes like I get at the store. And I realized I must have dropped one and they started growing. Like that's how Irish I am. I'm also Irish. But they have to spend all this time and effort to disempower us. And it's purely psychological. They're not actually coming to your house yet. They're not even changing the laws. They're using Twitter or whatever to take away your First Amendment. They're doing a lot of stuff, but we're just doing it to ourselves. And all we really need to do is think a little bit. And it's within the possibility. But that's why, like what Binkley was saying before, things are going to get into niches. That is actually what concerns me a little bit because you don't want to always be preaching to the choir. However, stuff like this, Swapcast, people like you who like come at it from one angle, people like us, we come at it from a different angle. We have different audiences that we draw in from different places where we can kind of exchange these ideas. Like my favorite emails are when people say, I only agree with half of what you say, but like, I like that you think and you help me think and whatever. I don't think we need to agree on anything. We just need to start thinking.
We can all agree that you're beautiful, Monica.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, that'll work.
That's how I would get. Be like, look, I don't agree with half of what you say, but girl, you pretty.
Well, I do get. I usually dismiss those. It's like somebody just sent me a tweet. Every once in a while, He asked me if I have a leather jacket and what it looks like. If I could wear it next time I tweet at him.
Wow.
And then there's Ward who what did he say? More feet pics, please.
Well, I was going to bring that up, but then I realized they might listen.
That's all right.
These people, the feet people are relentless. They are the most confident.
I didn't out his specific today. No. Was that bad?
No, it was definitely funny.
I did tweet the Rick and Morty socks, and it got a rise out of some people, I guess.
I'm sure it did.
Literally.
I didn't think the socks. I didn't think socks counted. Feet are feet, even with socks on?
Well, people imagine the feet inside. They see the socks. They say the feet have been in the socks. I want to be close to the socks.
Oh, and now you're doing shoes. So
shoes, anything feet-wise. Mm-hmm. Yeah, people have foot fetishes. I've been trying to get my feet like an agent, but I can't. It's not really catching on. I don't think they want the male feet pics.
You guys know that I am on Wiki Feet?
Are you?
It's not one of my prouder things. It's not one of my prouder credits. Can you get it I can pull it up here. This was a big day. The day I realized I had a profile on Wiki Feet because somebody else created this for me, and I was just like, "Oh wow!" So here I am.
Is it really your feet?
Yeah. Well, what they do is they collect pictures of you from all over the internet, and someone just makes a profile like.
Wow.
Here's me. I have 4 out of 5 stars. I don't know why. Oh, because I have 4 out of 5 nice feet.
They have a rating system.
Like they have. This is just me doing
there you go. Wow, that's a great picture.
Look at those feet.
Perfect.
This is me. Like I jumped off a boat, and they're like, we gotta get this on here.
Dude, that should be on your Twitter profile.
And this is me at a show. Just
thousands of new tweets.
Regular picture of me after a show, a secret show in a backyard this past summer, and then this is me like,
feet.
This is by accident. I'm not trying to get
clearly mugging for the camera in that.
Oh my God, it is. Maybe like there's something I don't know about them.
You did. You signaled, man. It's like the okay sign for feet people.
I'm really not. And look, this is
your feet are everywhere. You didn't do that on purpose.
Trying.
Don't believe it.
Too much. Come on. I'm not.
Come on.
I'm not. Look at that.
They got a mind of their own. These feet are getting.
Really? This was from a vacation, and I was like, there's a pool in my backyard. But these foot people.
You had a porn phase.
People think that I don't know. People look. This was like I'm doing a show. This person zoomed in. Look.
Oh my God.
What?
Yeah, I had my shoes off while I was doing like a radio show because it's like I don't know. Sometimes it's more comfortable.
You're gaslighting these people at this point.
It's too much, I guess.
Nice.
I'm giving I don't know. I guess I'm giving the feet people what they want.
Yeah.
Why is it feet and not hands? There's no. They're not similar sites for hands and fingers as there are, but feet. People have just obsession with.
It was one of my many jobs. I was a foot model. I was a shoe model. So I got a lot of free pairs of shoes from this designer named Matt Burnson. I would go in and for $50 an hour, I would try on shoes and give them feedback. Is it comfortable or not comfortable? I had no idea. I got this job off Craigslist. I showed up thinking, I'm probably going to get jerked off on, but I really need money. Yeah. So I learned that it was indeed a legit job, and they would get boxes of shoes in from like Spain or Brazil or wherever the shoe factories were. And I learned that like size 7 is like the industry foot standard size. I thought there was foot models for every size coming. I thought there was a size 6 girl coming. I thought there was an 8 girl, a 9 girl. I thought there was like a whole pen of foot models coming in giving feedback. No, it was just me, and they would just have me try it on and give them feedback. And I was like, wow, I feel like I wield so much power. Like it's the future of like this,
But it was the feet bona fides.
It was like, and then they'd be like, here's $15,
Did you get to keep the shoe? You got to keep the shoes?
A couple of like the older ones that weren't selling, they would give me, but I would get a discount. So I ended up just spending whatever I made on the shoes.
Well, it looks like you have a long and storied foot history. I don't think it's any surprise.
You're
that
prolific
you have a
foot model.
I'm toe-lific, actually.
Toe-lific.
Totally toe-lific.
Oh my God, we got really so off topic here. I feel like we meant to talk about all these serious topics. I want to get back to your point about like scaring people into not having land, not growing their own food. It's almost, I'm thinking of the example of like the baby elephant who is like tethered to this, pole, and then as it grows up, it's like, girl, you're a big ass elephant. You could bust on through this, but it doesn't. And I'm like, is that what's happening to us?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. The Kanye West, the mental slavery, he was dead on when he said that. Is the only thing that's keeping people submissive is psychologically they think that they're bound to this system, and that comes from like 100 years worth of propaganda that's designed to do that, can make people mentally enslave themselves.
You know what I think the number one thing is that, and I don't know if free college is enough of a trade-off to just totally brainwash people and then they're incapacitated because that's that little string of a tether, or if debt, the first thing a person does as an adult, if they're really going to make it in this world, in this country, is incur a tremendous amount of debt. The very first adult move that you do, your parents actually have to sign off on it. And then as
you mean going to college?
Yeah. And then for like 10 years, you're paying that off. And then maybe you get a mortgage and then you're paying that off. And then you have kids and you work a lot. So you live close to the city and you can't send them to public school. So then you're getting that tuition and everything. So by the time you wake up on the treadmill, you look around and say, especially if you have kids, you look around and say, look, I get it that this was a mistake. I'm a complete slave, but I've already made all these investments and now I can get kind of like a B+ job instead of just I used to waitress and I really had a better lifestyle then. I loved it. I made a lot of cash. Oh, I loved it. Yeah, I loved it. It was so fun. I had free drinks, stay after work. I had an apartment, but by the time I was 17, I absolutely loved it. But I, worried about breaking my leg, so then I went to school and I did all that kind of
insurance.
stuff.
Everyone's like, you need insurance. Yeah.
Everything. And then I went back to school. I had dropped out of high school, but I went back to school. And then, but even when I saw my husband like getting better jobs and then the tax rate going up and then him working more and us having to live closer to the city and our expenses going up, I was like, hey man, we are falling for something. And he's like, look, I've been going to school. I went to school till I was 30. I'm not stepping off now. And then like 10 years later, he was just like, this is crazy. And I said, I told you we should have just stepped off 10 years ago. But you never can because you're so fully committed to that system. And I feel like it's almost inversely correlated with the wisdom. Like as you get more and more wised up to the whole thing, you're like, you know what? I'm in the home stretch. I hope I can retire.
And it's too scary to go off the system because we're told to follow these steps, and then we follow these steps and we'll get this result, even if it's completely disconnected and it doesn't work out for a lot of people. That when you're told that one thing and you want to go maybe do something else, it's off the path. You feel pressure not to by other people who've never gone off the path. And then you yourself are scared shitless trying to figure out what that path is and having the confidence to pursue it. And that's how they limit people. The college thing is dead on. And now college doesn't even match up to any skills that people use. They make people stupid half the time in college.
Pure brainwashing.
I mean, I did learn how to give a pretty good hand job in college. I will give Fairfield you that.
The social aspects definitely is what you get from college.
I think it was something about it being a Jesuit college really helped my hand job skills.
Yeah.
Just all those drunken nights on the beach. Gotta.
The guys teaching to each other there. Right?
Well, that's how. Yeah, you have to go through that first, then you advance.
Right, and every comic I know deals with this pressure because it's like, oh, day job, don't have a day job. It's like just to pursue comedy is like you're off the path. Like good luck. You better get famous before you want to have a baby or you want to get injured and need surgery.
Right. Everybody says you still doing comedy. You still doing comedy? Yeah, you still doing. Yeah. I was on like there's one point in time where I was on like 3 TV shows that were on Netflix and Amazon at one time, and people were still going, "You still doing acting? You still doing acting?" I'm like, well, yeah, like it's just they never get the concept that there is a path to pursue because they've never experienced it themselves because they've been stuck in the mainstream media propaganda sphere for so long.
Wow. And what's the thing that gets you in? Is it insurance? Like what's the catch? Is it all of it? I guess it comes at you from many different angles. It's like pressure
there's
from
also
your parents.
The time thing. So for me, I got a couple of when I first said, "Oh my gosh, I figured this out. I'm moving from anarcho-capitalism to agorism, and I realize I need to start growing things and fighting for liberty within the framework of the political system is not going to work, and that we have to take our own liberty." You should read Technological Slavery by Ted Kaczynski.
Yes. I know that name.
Oh, Ted. Well, he's a serial killer, so people don't really love to quote him. And I was going to give it to my son.
I say never judge a book by its cover. Never judge, don't judge somebody.
Don't judge a Unabomber by his hoodie.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. It's like art, it's the critic.
Everyone has a bad day. Yeah.
But so anyway, but his idea was that you have to take your own autonomy by living off the grid or by growing stuff. But this is so people yell at me like, well, it's about time. I can't believe you're not homeschooling your kids and you don't have any chickens or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I've been spending all of my free time for like 10 years. I used to have a terrestrial radio show, which was very stressful and time consuming, even though the airtime was only on the weekends. But I used to have to do a lot of work because I was controversial and people would attack me or whatever. And I wanted to be prepared, but it just took a lot of hours. And then now we do podcasts every single day and it takes a lot of hours. So if it's 20 or 30 hours a week that I'm spending doing this particular thing, I am definitely not gonna figure out how to grow stuff. And I would have to like move. I rent this house. Like they're not okay with chickens in this neighborhood in LA. Like there's just not a chicken neighborhood. So anyway, but I feel like there's only so many things you can do. And it's a great idea, but I feel like it's kind of too late for me. But I tell my kids, like, before you have kids, you should probably figure out how to go live on a farm for a summer or something. Like, at least know how to do it so you're not nervous about it. But they laugh because I don't care if they go to college or anything. One of them wants to be a lawyer, one of them wants to be a doctor. Cool. And I'm just like, really? Does anyone want to be a vet or a farmer?
That's what I wanted to be. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be a veterinarian and a gymnast. And I was like, I can do both. And
I want to just to keep the pigs healthy so we can eat them every once in a while or whatever. I don't know. But I just want somebody to be a farmer. I want somebody to figure it out for the next, I'll come take care of your babies, but you've got to be in a place that's sustainable. I told my husband, like, let's buy like some acres in Montana. It's like $10,000 an acre. We could probably get a couple of acres with water on it, but it's cold up there.
I've seen a meme going around that Bill Gates owns the most farmland in the country or in the world or something.
And that it's like water important, like there's watersheds, you got to care about that stuff. And supposedly, but they all do. Those guys do, of course, own land because that's the thing. That's
where you grow your impossible meat. Yeah,
exactly. That's the thing. They don't want us to be able to do any of that. But the real things that we need are not there are substitutes for them. So you need like food, water, shelter, whatever. And so when people are like, it's a monopoly, it needs to be regulated. I'm like, you know what? Nothing's really a monopoly if you don't actually need it. Is it entertainment that it's a monopoly on? Then do something else. Is it transportation? Well, where do you have to go? Or telecommuting is a substitute for road, like there is another way. But if they start controlling food, air, water, not even food, but the ability to grow food, if they start controlling the actual profound necessities. And one of the first UN documents, Habitat 1, said they don't want regular people owning land. And that's the most important thing in my mind. And I think they care about that.
Yeah,
I know. And that's the thing, because I don't care about regulations. I'm not worried about any of this stuff. It's just the basic necessities, and they know that. They're ahead of it, I think.
This is very scary.
Sorry, don't be scared. Binkley, bring her back.
Bring me back.
Bill Gates wants to murder all of us.
For sure. He's an OG.
I don't know if he wants to. Yeah,
I'm amazed because I was interviewing Dr. Drew. I was so happy to have Dr. Drew. Was a big fan of him for many years. And then I asked him what his thoughts on Bill Gates were. And he's like, well, I think he's a nice guy. I don't know why he gets so much shit. And I was like, oh, Dr. Drew, you're compromised. Thank God to you, Dr. Drew. And he was like,
did he say anything about Fauci?
No, I don't think so. I'll have to go back. I think it was over the summer. But he was like, he just wants to help people. I was like, girl.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, he was on Fauci's AIDS fear squads when he was younger. Dr. Drew was.
Was he?
Yeah, that's what he said in a podcast one time. where they go around scaring the shit out of people. I told you, Monica, when I was a kid, I was hypochondriac. I was convinced that I had AIDS as like a 7-year-old. I'm like looking at my tongue in the mirror going, there's white spots. There's white spots. I must have got it from a toilet seat. I was convinced because of all the Fauci propaganda.
Wow. Yeah, I too was like very scared. I was very much a prude, which is why I got very passionate about hand jobs, because I was like, no sex, but you know,
oh, perfect.
Keep your wrists limber. And yeah, it was very much this fear of like, don't, keep your holes empty. So
yeah.
Oh boy.
I don't want to say anything else because I don't want to bring you down. But
no, this is
bring it back up.
No, this is good to know. It's like, well, people can still like buy land. People can still.
Here's the problem. This is why it's really not depressing. What was depressing to me is the Trump Q stuff, because I've been telling people for the longest time about stuff like the Boston Marathon bombing, the JFK assassination. Everybody knows that it was an inside job, and no president has ever outed that. So we no longer have the country that we had, right? So we should talk about that stuff. And then when you have something like Q or Trump or whatever saying, oh, ignore everything about the Constitution, there are children in cages in the basements of Democrats, and that's we all have to sacrifice absolutely everything for that. But pedophiles you're always going to have with you. We could at least preserve the Constitution. So that is what bothers me, is that they can set up these corrals where they can put people who would still be looking for the truth. They give them a false truth to slow them down. And I think that you just kind of, maybe somebody did email us and say that January 6th thing woke them up to the fact that Trump was there kind of pushing people into that corral. He wasn't inciting insurrection because there wasn't insurrection.
Yeah.
But
what did you see? You said you were there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was there, and I remember like he was supposed to speak at 11. He didn't speak till close to 12. And me and my friend Riss has a really great YouTube channel. You should definitely check her out. Her name's Riss Flex, and big conspiracy gal. A lot of fun. She's a tiny little thing. So she was getting cold because we were standing out there since 8 a.m. And, all these speakers. And so we're waiting for Trump. It's 11. Everyone's waiting for Trump. Hundreds of thousands of people, as far as the eye could see. So many people, so many flags. I loved going to these rallies just to meet the people, interview the cool characters, see the signs. I mean, there was a guy in a skeleton costume with a sign that says, I voted for Biden 9 times. This is what I love about these events, is the energy, the people, the passion, and always the most passionate people, anti-CCP, are always people that are from China. The most passionate people warning us of socialism are people that are either from or have parents from Cuba or Venezuela. It's like they know firsthand, and they're like, or I have friends in China who are texting me like, y'all are headed for this. And we have just the luxury of going our whole 30, 40, 50, 60 years on this, in this country, never having to fight for our rights. It's like we get too comfortable. We don't have to fight for anything. And so anyway, the point is, it's like we were standing there all these hours. We were freezing. I heard some people being like, oh, they're controlling the weather. They're making it extra cold for us. They're making it extra cold. And I was like, it is very cold. It's unusually cold.
And that's what China would probably do.
It got colder as the day went on.
They do that in China.
I was like, it's broad daylight. I was like, it is very fucking cold. And so we were like, we just got to start moving. We got to start walking, because it was planned in the program that people were going to march to the Capitol at 1. This was days in advance. This was always planned. It was not, no one was inspired by Trump speaking because he was an hour late to the podium. And people were like, all right, well, the next marching point, or the point that we're all going to meet at, there was a graphic. There was an image that was going around that was Tuesday night, we're going to meet at Freedom Plaza, and there'll be speakers. I think Alex Jones was there, Ali Alexander, a bunch of people.
This was characters. The Women for America First, something like that.
There's a lot of different subgroups. There's religious people. They meet up and have a speaker at some point in some time. There's the women group. There's there was the Stop the Steal folks. There's Brandon Strzok's freaking now he's arrested. I was supposed to do an interview with him on Monday, and I was like, where is he? Where is he? Oh, he got arrested. That's where he is. So I'm gonna have to reschedule with him whenever he resurfaces. I was like, oh, this is a legit excuse. I'm like, he's blowing me off. He's definitely in a cop car somewhere. I love that guy. He's just like I just really, I don't know. I feel it represents like a lot how I felt, because I was like card-carrying feminist that walked away from the Democrats as well. So it's like there's all these little subgroups.
Is that the walkaway guy you're talking about that got arrested?
Yes. And then there's MAGA, and then there's the 2A people, and then there's the free speech people, which is me. That's what activated me into all this stuff, was free speech, because I was like, well, you can't have comedy without free speech. So I'm all in. And so I'm there, I'm doing live streaming, I'm meeting funny people. I met this guy Prometheus, who's super passionate about foreskin. He thinks everybody should have a foreskin. You should sue your parents if they circumcise you. He's I don't know. I don't know where he believes that most of the serial killers don't have foreskin, that foreskin is better for your penis in the winter. It protects it better. It's better for sex. Like
he's a foreskin advocate.
He's a foreskin advocate. He's and if you talk to him long enough, he's like, you got to put your dick and balls in the sun. You know, like he's got a lot of ideas. So these are people that I like to talk to. And so anyway, it's getting to be like 12:30. Okay, like Trump had been speaking for like half hour or so, and people are freezing their asses off. And I think a lot of people just wanted to start walking and start moving. So people were walking, and I felt bad because we were like, we should wait till Trump is done speaking to go over to the Capitol. But Riss was like, I'm going to die. I'm freezing. Wow. And she's a small little thing. So a little bit after 12:40, we started walking to the Capitol, because the Capitol was like marching meeting point was so it was Freedom Plaza, Tuesday, 9:00. Wednesday, 9 a.m. The Ellipsis, or the President's Lawn, was a point. And then the third point was Capitol at 1 p.m. It was always going to be where people were going to meet up. So people were like, well, next thing's at 1, and people were starting to walk out while Trump was speaking at 12:30. And we felt so bad. We're like, we're so cold though. I had to go like buy gloves. So we just started walking. And so we get there. It's like, planned. We heard Trump and we was speaking. He was like, I know everyone's going to march over peacefully. So he didn't say anything that inspired anybody to go buy a wire cutter and a sledgehammer and go like knock the place down. Just regular. He wasn't saying anything crazy at all. And
they only picked that one line, which was very innocuous. I
have a lot of
the fight for your right. I
have a lot of his speech recorded on my phone from that day, because I just had it up on a thing, and I'm doing like wide shots. I should really go back and listen to it and see if there's anything else interesting that I can post.
Especially the tone of it.
Yeah. And so
a lot of the stuff they said was incitement was on Twitter, which they removed, so you can't see it anymore. They just say he incited riots on Twitter, and now we're going to take it down. And we aren't allowed to see it.
Like, really, he didn't at all. It was more like people were there in DC because they had like real concerns. We're not supposed to say it.
And then they stopped. The whole mob thing prevented Congress from
it stopped what they wanted to happen.
I remember there were a bunch of us listening on a radio. We were huddled around a radio because like I was in
Congress.
I wasn't up close at first I was very far. I was very far back. Like I was at the north side of the Capitol building by where there was a small pond, And so a bunch of us are like huddled around a radio and they're listening to like the proceedings going on inside the building. And I guess they had gotten to the point where they were going to discuss election fraud. And then all of a sudden people are breaking in when they start talking about that.
It was right after the first challenge to Arizona. Right after that happened is when they busted
and people were like cheering. People were like, yeah, we're making it. The people listening to the radio, yeah, we got in. We're making a difference. And I was like, I just didn't know what to make of it. I was like, is this good? And I just saw more people were walking up to the Capitol, like families, kids, old people. I'm like, oh, this is like Disney World. Everyone's just walking up to the Capitol. I was like, let's walk up. We're going to get better shots, better interviews, better photos. So we walk up and then we see like the classic, photo of people climbing the walls and stuff.
From what we understood, because our friend was there, that was just a one-off thing. Alex Jones was up there and a couple of people scaled that wall. There was actually scaffolding.
There was a couple the scaffolding that people were on.
Just weird, and she just kept walking.
They did a big flag drop over that's what this picture is. They did a big flag drop over the side of the, God, I don't know, well,
it was the back of the Capitol.
Can't really tell, but yeah, whatever. It's they just did a big flag drop over the scaffolding, and people were cheering like, "Yay, we're here! We're being noticed." We're like, "Yay!" CNN's definitely
the doors were open.
Yeah. And there was
they announced that the
yeah.
doors were unlocked. They sent out an alert, and then there's people walking in unlocked doors. They're walking in between the red velvet ropes, just very like calmly walking.
I saw a line of cops walk past us. So like, I mean, but none of us were. I mean, the place where I were, nobody was being like naughty. Like, you know, we were just like standing there with our flags and stuff. But like, nobody was trying to break us up from where we were. And I had no idea until I got back to the hotel that people had like really gotten in. You know, I didn't know about Podium Guy. I didn't know about Viking Guy until much later that night.
That is hilarious that somebody stole a podium from.
Yeah,
that's great.
I wish I could have been like, yeah, I'll just take a lipstick and fuck with her. You know what I mean? She'd be like, I gotta go get where is it? You know? Just go into her like the little freezer I'm sure she has under her desk and be like, I'm gonna take some of these popsicles.
Yeah.
For gas mask.
Yeah.
They all had
some of them were wearing gas masks. Some of them they got an alert to wear their escape mask. That's what it said in the alert.
Is it like an airplane? It just drops down from the ceiling?
I guess they have them in their office, but there's photos of them wearing these ridiculous gas masks.
Relax, please. Most people like didn't even know where to go. I mean, like there was a couple people who seemed to know I mean, the average person is not going to know where to go when they get inside the Capitol building.
Right.
Like
most people are showing them. Maybe that's why the cops were escorting them through the holes. There are pictures of that.
It's so crazy. So you guys maintain that this was all completely a psyop. It was a setup that like, because I didn't see Viking Guy. I was there for 3 days. I didn't see Viking Guy.
And he was like previously in other media. You can find YouTube videos of that. When you're that, you know.
Once it was like, this guy has headshots. He's very suspect. Yeah.
That's crazy. You're there for 3 days and you never see him. Yet, if you only watched it from TV, he's the only thing you picture because that's all they show.
He's the poster boy. Yeah. I met so many cool people. Prometheus, the foreskin guy. He was there in November. He was there in December. Come on. He should have been your guy.
He's committed. Yeah. They should interview that guy. I'd love to hear that on TV.
Like, he lives in a bush, you know? Like, he's about it.
With his foreskin. He's got his foreskin in the bush.
It rains. He just wraps his foreskin up over his head.
Yes. Yeah. He goes parachuting with it. Yeah.
It's a good combo.
Camping
in the bush.
Oh man, it is. I mean, like it definitely doesn't not look like a psyop. It's like these people knew where to go. There seemed to not be a lot of cops
they disrupted
around.
The thing that everyone was there and knew they were there to do. It's not like you people were all stupid and didn't know what we knew, what was really going on in the Capitol. That's why you were there, because I read some of the stuff that was denounced as the call to action. Said it right there in plain sight. We are there to support the courageous people in Congress who are willing to object to their state's certification. That's what one of the scandalous calls to action was. So if you were there for that reason, why would you interrupt it while they were actually doing it? It wasn't even before they were doing it. Why? And the cops didn't stop them. Nobody tried to stop them, yet they all went back onto the bus by sunset. And Mitch McConnell, 80 years old, has more stamina than the insurrection. He slithers back in and finishes the job. I mean, it's just so
everyone gets a little juice box full of adrenochrome, I'm sure.
That's true.
Maybe that's what they were out. That's why they went in to steal that adrenochrome.
That's right. He probably did get a little.
There's the video of Horn Guy also going into where they were holding the hearing, the chamber, and he's just like, "What's up, bro? How you doing? I love
this video so much. What's up, man? Yeah, you're covered in blood. Good for you, bro. Patriots." I was like, this guy is great.
Yeah, that guy looks like an insurrectionist leader. Super chill.
Yeah, I'm like, and then the whole time I'm thinking it's fucking cold. It's January. Where is his coat?
Yeah, that's a
Where
great
is his
point.
bag? Who's holding his coat?
You
You know,
know,
is there like
because
a
it was
little Viking
California.
girlfriend out somewhere holding the coat? I don't
His
know.
nipples weren't
photo op
even erect at all. Like, it's all fake. It's deep
You
fake,
couldn't even
maybe.
light a match on those nipples.
You're telling me that makeup stayed perfectly on. It's from like 8 in the morning till 4 p.m. whenever like all that action was happening. It's like,
Then he went
I
on
don't
a hunger strike in jail, which I thought that's awesome.
Oh, right.
Celebrity.
He demanded organic food. Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
An impossible burger.
I
for him.
actually, when I first moved out to LA, I was gonna buy some food for a bum that was outside Chipotle, and he literally was like strictly vegetarian. Gave me very
I think
specific
when you
orders.
become homeless, you really have to reevaluate your demands. You have to become less maintenance.
Like, this is truly the land of milk and honey if this guy can make those kind of demands. Like,
No, it's the land of oat milk and fucking agave.
avocados.
Yeah.
Avocados are an extra $1. Come on, dude. You have to have the avocado.
The homeless have had it too good for too long.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that guy, I'm sure, did not. I think that whole thing was photo op. It didn't matter that it was cold. He wasn't going to put the coat on because he was there to make that scene, and people loved it.
Wow.
Yeah, they had the photographers up on the balcony. I mean,
it's crazy because it's like, man, it's like if this whole thing is just smoke and mirrors to make the Patriots look bad, and because nobody was there, nobody was armed. Like conservatives and MAGA are known for being better than the left and being better than liberals and turning the other cheek and being the party of inclusivity. Yeah.
Because they couldn't get them to really do it. And I'll tell you, if that crap wanted to have an insurrection, they would have brought their
they would have kicked ass.
They would have at least made it through. If there was nobody minding the gate, they would have had a better time that day. But they didn't. They just had no arms and they went home at sunset. And nobody was trying to stop them. That's the thing. They weren't even being pushed back by the cops. They left of their own accord. That is, like, by definition, not a real attempt at overthrowing the government.
Yeah.
right.
And we were told.
And McConnell wasn't scared because he came back. He knew there was no threat.
AOC said she was worried for her life. She feared for her life. They saw nobody. They saw nobody. None of them saw anybody. But she was afraid for her life.
Building.
Yeah. Wow. She used to lead storms. She used to storm other people's offices with mobs of people and do the same shit.
Sandy from the block, the bartender, is quaking in her boots because Viking Man is half a building over.
And that's what tells me it's like, oh, you were never really of the people, because if this is how quickly you get scared, like, aren't you a bartender? Like, aren't you like, I've had a bottle broken next to my head. You know what I mean? Like, it's
exactly.
Aren't you like, shouldn't you be harder to scare, New Yorker?
I know. That's how I felt about the Starbucks guys, the guys who, like, they weren't allowed to use the bathroom at Starbucks or whatever. And they were just like, you don't understand how painful this is. I'm like, wait, is this painful, or has your life been riddled with abuse and injustice? Like, which is it? Because it cannot be both.
And weren't you in there cussing at people and refusing to order for like 20 minutes before it happened? Yeah.
This is crazy. So how do people listening to this that are going, man, are we just fucked here? Like, what do real patriots do? A lot of us are feeling frustrated. A lot of us are just like, well, fuck it. I guess some people are like, I'm never voting again. Or I am going to go off the grid. I'm going to live in the forest. I'm going to
I would say two things and they're both kind of local. One is that you should think of liberty and autonomy and rights as something personally asserted, basically, at all times. Like, I have to get my mind around that. So I'm not the one to, like, I'm in LA. I don't walk around in Whole Foods without a mask on because, I have personal autonomy. To the extent that's a private company, I wouldn't violate the rules. But I'm just saying that is just as far as a new mindset. And then I've always said to people, it does not matter if there are false flags. It does not matter what the truth of the propaganda is. Never, ever, ever let them convince you that your rights should be abused or that ideology isn't important because of some other thing, because of pedophiles or because of terrorists. Like, whatever the story is, don't be like, well, Monica's a conspiracy theorist. So, all right. I'm wrong about everything. where's my Fourth Amendment? Let's just all get together and defend the Fourth Amendment. And I think that at the local level, that's very important. So like if you want to grow chickens and you need to be able to, make sure that your local laws allow it, or that nobody's going to come to your land and come and kill them all, and make sure that you can have the guns, that you can stand on the four corners of your property and you don't have a Portland situation. So I would say, to the extent you're going to get off the couch, then maybe make sure that when they have town hall meetings, city hall meetings, you're there to demand that they explain what they're doing. I mean, it sounds simple, but I'm not even doing that. And I think that that's probably the only hope, is like locally assert your right to collect rainwater, to have a chicken, to have guns. And we interviewed G. Edward Griffin last night, and I haven't looked into his stuff, although that's a shame on me because he's been an activist his entire life, and he does the Red Pill Expo, and I think it's Freedom Forest International. And he says they have cells. And then we're doing a live stream on February 20th with Adam, who's also on Union of the Unwanted, who does Deborah Gets.
Oh, what a great pod.
Yeah. And he does freedom cells and farmers market, swap meet, stuff like that. And we're going to talk to him about how to kind of take control in your own local community, where you can kind of go off the grid a little bit. And the most important thing about that, I think, is sharing best practices, finding other people who are there with you. So don't look to a Donald Trump or a Q or even me, because I can tell you what really happened in the Boston Marathon bombing. Like, don't worry about it. Just make sure you know how to make food and that you can understand that no one has the right to stop you.
Almost like you have to think of your rights as like you are married to your rights. Like, no, like if you're in a marriage, like, yeah, well, I was in a bad mood, so I cheated on you. It's like, no, it's like we're in a marriage. Like it's like there's no excuse. It's like that comes first in a way. Like there's no like, oh, I got fired, so I cheated on you. It's like, no, we're like, you're committed to, I don't know if this is a terrible metaphor, but it's like, have that in the forefront of your mind. Like you're like, maybe no circumstance should result in your rights being taken away.
It's actually not a bad metaphor, because if you look at it like what God has put together, let no man bring asunder. That doesn't mean that there isn't such thing as divorce. It's, under that philosophy, it's a wrong thing, but it's a thing. So when Thomas Jefferson says that our rights are inalienable, that they are in the moral sense, but that doesn't mean, he wouldn't have had to say it if there wasn't a threat to it. So what you have to understand is that asserting that those rights are yours, and you have to actually, at the very least, be aware that they are yours to assert, and that there is no compromise, because that's really what all the propaganda is about, is getting people to think that compromise is necessary because the world is different from the thing that's consistent with human beings having these rights. The world is not inconsistent with our rights.
Yeah, I would say it's getting people not to think and getting them to feel loyal to the emotional appeals from the person they identify with the most, to subvert that thinking, which leads them to think about their rights. And I think whenever you feel yourself super like over exuberant about a politician that you'd never met in your life, and you have no idea what they're truly like. And we all fall for, we've all fallen for that. We've all fallen into that. I think you want to question that person at probably twice as hard as you question the other side, because you already don't believe the propaganda that comes from those you don't like. You don't believe anything that they say. The people most likely to get the propaganda message to you are the ones that you have that emotional feeling towards, because they relate to you so much. You got to question that hard. It's hard. That's why it's challenging, is because they pull those emotional strings, which always trumps our thinking brain. But you got to use that cognitive energy.
So Trump appealed to people's emotions, and that's how he got in. He was just a perfect package. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how he mobilized people, definitely.
Because they asked people what they like about Trump, and
he's a regular guy, even though he wasn't. Yeah.
He says stuff, I think, Binkley pointed that out, and he's mean to people I hate.
Right. Yeah. And AOC does the same thing.
What people say.
Yeah. AOC does the exact same. I tell people sometimes who like love AOC or love Trump, they'll be like, I just love AOC. And I'll say, yeah, she's brilliant. She's smart. She's the Trump of the left. And they just get so angry about it. Like they both know how to piss off the other side. And they both are great at playing the media.
That is so, yeah, she has her own line of ties. And
yeah, probably. A lot of feet pics, I'm sure.
She has her own glasses. She's got her own fashion statement, which I hate that my glasses are the AOC glasses. I almost didn't buy them.
And she's good looking. I mean, it works for her.
She's huge boobs.
People masturbate to her. Yeah, it's
yeah.
very confusing. Yeah.
Especially the ones that hate her that are masturbating to her.
Oh yeah. A hate jerk is still a jerk, you know? Like I have to mobilize the constants of my penis. I've had too much wine. This has been a very good, productive chat. I feel like, did we cover all the things we wanted to cover? Real hope versus what is a setup? God, I don't know. I feel like I've lost hope on that stuff.
The only thing that I did want to ask you is when you try to sort through what's real and what's not real, or how like to believe in Q or not believe in Q, like how do you know? Like, is it just a gut instinct or what? Because you don't just follow the crowd, which means that you exercise some discernment. And where does that come from?
Well, to be a comedian is to kind of like, you're like signing up for not fitting in. And it's like, to truly pursue comedy is like having a disease. You're like, yeah, I would love to work at the bank, but I just like, I've been like blessed / cursed with this funny bone and like the heightened like observation skills and plus childhood coping mechanisms and a dash of daddy issues and like, you know, bam, you got a comedian. But I think it's just like, to be a comedian, you're already not subscribing to the norm or what's a normal path. And so that's why I feel a kinship with porn stars, because it's like we're a little bit like the weirdos of society. There's like a little bit of a black mark on us. It's a thing that people keep from taking us seriously. But I would occasionally like, you know, read the Q drops, and I just, you know, I wasn't reading all of them. It wasn't the end all be all.
They can't be all wrong. Or they
and I was listening to like one of your shows where you were like it was so interesting, the points you were making, because Q is like what they're like, it's one or more military insiders, and now it's like now there's this kind of military takeover as well. And I was watching, it was this one like Vice article, and they were like decoding the symbols at January 6th, all the different groups of extremists, and it was like oath keepers, and I'm like, aren't those good people that just are there and these fights break out? Like, I've met those dudes. They're good dudes. It's just like cops, firefighters, whatever. It's just like people that are like gonna keep a baby from cracking its skull open. It's people that are gonna like catch a fainting woman. It's like, come on. And then they were like, oh, extremists. There were Christian symbols. I'm like, what? We're labeling Christians as extremists?
They are now.
What the fuck is that? I mean,
there's a billion of them. So like by perforce, I don't think you can call that extreme.
I was like, you know what's extreme? My grandma slipping a New Testament into my pocket every time I went to her house. That's extreme. Not these guys.
Also a pickpocket. That's a very skilled grandmother.
Yeah, I was like, I'm never gonna read it. No, but now I kind of do want to read it. So
yeah, most comedians are that I know anyway. They ask questions because that's what you do. You ask questions and you look at things. Except the ones on late night television who all say the exact same thing and the exact same jokes.
Any late night set you hear on like a Kimmel, a Fallon, a Colbert,
you hate Colbert.
Has been combed.
Chrissie hates Colbert too.
I hate Colbert. Yeah, it's terrible.
Like the shill of shills.
Like, he's CNN. He's no different than CNN.
He's so arrogant.
I didn't even like him when he was like his comedic personality on the Daily Show with Jon Stewart. God, everyone loved Jon Stewart, and like if it weren't for him, no one would know who Stephen Colbert is. But he's just so, at best, he's unlikable. But at worst, he's like a disgusting shill. You know,
yeah,
so condescending. Who likes that? And you know what it is? It's like he appeals to this part of the left that's like either they themselves are a smarty pants know-it-all, you know, like, and that's what CNN is too. It's like the fake it till you make it group. It's like we act like we're better than everyone. We say we're more cultured than the right. And it's just like, it's almost like this, it's like a popularity contest to see who's better, who's more cultured, who's more woke. And it's like, none of that is real. It's like, it's all bullshit. It's like, they're pretending to be better. And the people that are attracted to that are also pretending to be better. than everybody else.
I don't know how he like does that show and feels good about himself. I would just feel disgusting. It's also, I mean, you can predict what the punchline is going to be when he starts into it. Although half the time he doesn't even do punchlines. He just does 10 minutes of somber talking about why we need to be worried about Trump or how he cried.
Humor is dead with these people.
He said he wept when Biden won. He sat down and wept. This is like a 5-minute segment with no jokes. It was about him and his wife crying because Biden. It's still a late night show.
It's so he should be embarrassed. He should really like, and that's the thing, when you're like famous and you're rich and you're like doing okay, you're not like eating ramen every night. It's like you can afford to be irrelevant and out of touch and like away from the people, and you're doing good. That's why the bubbles popped on celebrity right now. People are like, nah, I'm not. Those people are over there. I'm down here with the regular people. And he's just so gross. And so any late night set you see, whether it's Colbert, Fallon, anybody, has been passed through many rounds, gone through many hands, many pieces have been taken out. It's like, it's with a fine-tooth comb. And it's like, by the time you actually see that set, it's like a fraction of who that comic really is. And like, I know a comic personally that he was like, yeah, they were just delaying me and delaying me, putting me on the runaround, waiting for my date, that I just was like, fuck it. And like, he just didn't do it. Yeah. It's these sets that you see on late night TV are like, it's like not anybody's pure comedic genius. It's like, they're like, okay, give me a 5-minute set. And then they just edit the shit out of it. It's, you know, it's really like fucked with a lot. And
it's really funny because the way they talk about like Ed Sullivan and stuff, they're like, oh, they didn't want the Doors to say hi, but they did it anyway and whatever. And they act like, oh, there's all this censorship back then, but it was live and it wasn't censored. There's nothing you could do about it. I mean, it was definitely intentional propaganda to change the culture, but
I did this show. I wrote jokes. I did this show Punchline on Fox a few years back, and we had to run our jokes through this one lawyer. And you know, it's made to look like it's spontaneous. They're spontaneous answers, but like you write your jokes all day long. And I was so excited. I got to fly out. I paid for it myself, but you fly out to LA. I'm like, wow, I'm in the red, but I'm on TV. And so you write all these jokes all day long, and you get called to set at 3, and you go through all your jokes with like the lawyer. And I remember for some reason I couldn't say the word Viagra, and I had to say blue pill. And it was just so weird, the stuff that like, and I found Fox was kind of cooler. The process for that was a little more lax than say like the late night comedy process that I've heard from other comics, but still it's like everything on these mainstream media networks is like filtered through, sanitized for sure. You got to wear 3 masks to tell that joke. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it's coming to. Now, The Daily Show is, Trevor Noah's a good comedian, but he's pure propaganda. And they even have the co-anchors all like serve a demographic. They all come out in one way or another. And I know one of them. And
notice how he started to grow a little fro as soon as he
totally.
I'm like, this is new.
Right. They just bring him out to say, everybody's racist, everything's bigoted. So that's like the punchline. That's the takeaway from every punchline that all of their anchors do, and it just gets so redundant.
So funny, haha! Like when they were making the Trump jokes in the beginning, that hilarious like montage of, or the bit where the guy's entire show, his entire routine is just saying mean things about Trump. Like, boy, is that guy orange or what? What was it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a bunch of them. He's Orange Man bad.
It was so stupid. It wasn't funny at all. Everybody said the same thing. And it was big laughs. He is orange. Yeah, you can see where he wears his sunglasses. Oh, it's so funny. You know, it's like,
There was a while I was tracking those because I wanted to see. I was like, I feel like these guys are telling the same jokes. And so I watched all 3 of them just to see if the jokes, there was any difference in the jokes. And sometimes there's literally like 1 or 2 words different, and that's it.
It's like, are you guys all, if you guys are all getting the same script, why do you have all these writers on staff? You know?
Yeah, seriously.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's gross. So that's why I was like, oh, okay. It was nice because then I would stop obsessing about getting a late night comedy spot. I didn't use that as my marker of success. I didn't use that as like,
good thinking.
Oh, cool. Fuck the gatekeepers. I'm going to just work on me, what I find funny. And if people want to like hop in the car, great. And that's kind of where I'm at now. It's like, yeah, doing podcasts, doing your shows, being more of like a road person. I'm not like a glitzy Comedy Central person. I'm not like an industry darling, but like, fuck it. That's all so fake anyway. It's like, they
Sarah Cooper.
They care about visual diversity, but not diversity of thought. It's like,
yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like if you look like you could be on like a United Colors of Benetton, it's like that, but it's like they're all saying the same
You can
shit.
do it, but then it's not funny at all. I remember my first producer when I was at a like terrestrial radio, she was like, you could be like a TV anchor or whatever. You could be on Fox. I'm like, I definitely could not. I could not. There is no way.
Fox one time, and then they never let you back.
I mean, they don't want me to. I say Fox is fake. Like what makes me interesting is not what they want. And for me to be on that show, I would have to be what they want, which isn't me.
Yeah.
Like it's impossible.
It's funny.
To come to terms with that.
It's like the same thing when people are like, oh, you're so funny, you should be on SNL. I'm like, if SNL were dumb enough to hire me, which like clearly it would be a female Shane Gillis situation where they would find some sort of podcast and be like, oh no, but like they don't want someone like me because I imagine like I look at someone like Kate McGinnon and she's so talented. I'm like, the truly talented on that show must feel so stifled by the narrative and like
they're written for, and that's all great. But if they can't trust your real views and what you're going to do later, you maybe go Dennis Miller or something. They don't want to give you a position of influence because then they have to Anthony Bourdain you. It's not going to work. You got to get it out of your head.
Or Kate Spade or Kate Spade you. Yeah.
They got Shane Miller out, the white guy that they've kind of framed as a racist, and then they put in a gay Chinese guy. They just go polar opposite to put in a gay Chinese progressive guy. I thought that was. I feel like they.
Oh, he hates me, by the way. He hates me, by the way. After the woke Asians came after me, he tweeted.
Oh, really?
I keep forgetting his name. It's Byron or something. He's like an Asian. He's like a gay Asian guy who's very groundbreaking on his position in SNL by playing gay Asian characters.
Every single character, he's a gay Asian. Every single time.
He tweeted like nobody in New York City comedy respects Chrissie Mayr, and I had it as my Twitter background for like months. And I can't remember his name. Like, I don't know why. I think I have like a mental
block. There you go. Yeah. You got the last laugh.
And now I think
he can't even remember his name.
God. And then he was like, I think banned. He might be banned on Twitter. Who knows? But it's like,
what a stupid thing to say anyway. It's not even
so
clever.
Silly. It's like, we're not even in the same.
She doesn't count. It's like, what? She doesn't count? Great comeback.
Yeah. Oh, nobody respects her. Who? The least respectable people in comedy don't respect me? I'm good. Yeah.
No, you can't. That's not the world for a free thinker. It's just not. You can't. There's no reconciling it.
You like Norm Macdonald?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I appreciate his candor. Yeah. He's an OG. Yeah.
Yeah. That's back when I used to like SNL, is when he was hosting.
Something changed. Yeah. Everyone loved it. Like there was like the sweet spot, I think, during like the 70s or the 80s. And then, I don't know. I guess after 9/11, it got bad. Like other things. Sorry. Well, I want to leave this on a high note. Okay. Okay.
Right. You raised to 9/11. What the heck? We left that behind. We were making fun of shill comedians.
Right. And we're collecting rainwater and we're
yes.
I'm collecting ceiling water right now into a bucket from God knows where upstairs. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Part of coming to terms with not ever gonna make it really big in the mainstream.
Yeah.
Deal with
but that's how you know you can trust us, because we're not owned, we're not bought. I'm never gonna be wearing a Fauci gang sweatshirt unless it has a zipper, unless it's like bedazzled. No, probably not. Probably not.
Was it one of our listeners, Islam Kant? He dressed up as Fauci for Halloween and was going around telling people they had COVID. I think that's what he said.
Oh, that's so funny. Me and my boyfriend will sometimes play this game Among Us, which is like an app on your phone. It's like these little space creatures, and it's like a very simple. It's a really like fun little like video game. You can play it on your laptop too. And like one time, like I went in, like my name was Trump and his name was Fauci, and he was in there like, and you can actually wear a little eye mask. And he was saying in the chat for the game, like, everybody better wear a mask.
Are other people playing it?
Yes, yeah,
and community game. Oh, that's fine. I can't believe they let you be like Trump or something.
I guess I mean, you can't say like curse words or but yeah. I'm surprised at this point. Yeah, Trump isn't considered a 4-letter word. I guess it's a 5-letter
I mean, he's going to
word.
be the Hitler icon. He's going to be 21st century Hitler imagery, and they're going to have those symbols and stuff, I think.
This is very sad, guys. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be fun. We have this fun thing, the Union of the Unwanted, which is where I met you first.
Yes.
We have a lot of people who are banding together to bring different points. I mean, it's like this Rockfin stuff is MMA and free thinking. Like there's going to be a lot of overlap. A lot of it's going to be in meat space. So get off your ass and get out there and swap chickens for avocados, whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of hope. There's a lot of energy. And I know you are friends with Sam, and so are we. And he is bringing a lot of that. Like, we need to have alternatives. We need to take control. Mm-hmm. And I also think that his angle, a lot of people have this angle, and I've often thought it was absolutely true, that you have to have, if you let them frame it, then they're going to own the outcome, like the libertarian thing to the agorism thing, but also spiritually. If you let them make you think that your, physical health is so tenuous, it's so desperate, it's all you've got, they've got you. But if you realize that you've either got 80 years or there's something totally different going on, 80 years is like a flash of an eye. You have to think longer term.
Wow.
Fifth dimension.
Yeah, Sam Tripoli is so great for that. Like meeting people like him and John Paul Rice have really and you don't even have to be super religious to listen to these guys and be so inspired that really life is so beyond what you think happens here on this planet. And that gives me comfort, I think things like meditating, whatever you can do to feel good. And it's people always say and I just said this on another podcast, people think when they get their goals or when things happen, then they'll feel good, but it's the opposite. You got to feel good first, and then you're in flow, and then you're in line, and then the good things happen and things click into place. So just it's so silly and simple, but whether it's taking a bath or dancing or listening to certain music, whatever you have to do as much as you can to feel good as often as you can, and you'll just be a better person for yourself and everyone around you. And then that's when these answers to these tough questions will come.
There was a Jordan Peterson chapter. Another podcaster wants us to read the Jordan Peterson 12 Rules for Living and talk about them.
I love that. I love that book. Yeah.
I saw his tour live when he did. He's awesome.
One of the chapters is called Take Care of Yourself, as if you are a person you're responsible for helping.
Protect your future. Make good decisions for your future self.
I do that. I say that all the time. I'm doing this for future Chrissie. Yeah.
Yeah. And clean your room. He says clean your room, which is the best advice. It really is.
I figured that one out on my own.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. But yeah. No, he was great. Then he was out for a couple of years. He's coming back lately. And Matthew McConaughey did it. Matthew McConaughey is coming out as a Republican, I think. I think this is coming out party next month.
Yeah, I was wondering what was happening with him. I was like, something's brewing. He's going on Michaela Peterson's podcast.
I'm sure he's getting tailored.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
Guys, this was great. Where can people find you, follow you, support you, etc.?
We have a podcast called The Propaganda Report, and we do interviews like this, one-offs. We do deep dives on Rockfin, but our main thing is that on this podcast feed, Propaganda Report, we do a daily show, the Drive Time News Blast, that is news of the day from a perspective of truth, liberty, and justice. So it's meant to be an alternative to the mainstream media, so you can find out what's going on without having to listen to all the propaganda. We peel that back. And we have extra stuff. So every single day, that's 30 minutes free. And then we have another 15 minutes called the Patron 15. You can get on patreon.com/propaganda report. And we also have lots of fun stuff on our Patreon. So you can get different tiers, come to a cocktail party. Ooh, Chrissie, you should be a guest on one of our cocktail parties.
Ooh, yes, I drink.
Super fun. Yeah. And you can bring your patrons or whatever you want. And then this weekend, we're having just a very exclusive Zoom party for the kind of highest tier. So we do a lot of fun stuff just to keep, we don't get serious. We have our cocktails, and that's fun. But every single day on your way home, Drive Time News Blast at the Propaganda Report. And Binkley does a lot of really deep dive stuff on Rockfin. You should probably tell them about that.
Oh, yes, Binkley.
At Rockfin, we deconstruct these panel discussions from like the CFR and the Cyber
Ooh.
War College and Brookings Institute and World Economic Forum, where these videos will have like 80 views, 75 dislike, not ours, the Council on Foreign Relations of the Brookings, be like 75 dislikes, 5 likes, and then like 5 comments saying effing globalist, and then like no views. So nobody sees what these people are talking about when they openly admit and they plan.
They give
and
instructions
those plans. Yeah.
For these kind of disruptive measures. For how to propagandize. It's the craziest thing. So he plays
you
the clip,
see it happen in real time in the weeks after. You see it in these global panel discussions.
It's really uncanny. That's really my favorite product, but it's so much work that we don't put as many of those out, but it's really fantastic.
Wow.
So anyway, and how about you? Because we're going to put this on our feed too. So
yes,
tell us
so
about
great.
how we can find you.
I have a little, now I have one for me. Oh, wait, that was mine. Damn it. Let's make one. God damn it. I deleted my own thing. Okay. Hello, I am Chrissie Mayr. Please subscribe to the Chrissie Mayr podcast on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And I also do a show called The Wet Spot. It's on Compound Media, Mondays at 7:30 p.m. God, my banner went away. Mondays at 7:30 p.m., compoundmedia.com. So yeah, Chrissie Mayr podcast, which is everywhere, 4 days a week. Sometimes live streams. Sometimes I'll live stream from rallies and such. And then yes, Wet Spot on Compound Media. Come see me do stand up. The dates are scrolling at the bottom. On the 6th, I'll be at Coscob, Connecticut. I'm going to be at Hyenas in Dallas, February 19th and 20th. Comedians of the Compound, Royersford, PA on 226 and 228. I'm headlining the Stress Factory in New Brunswick, New Jersey. I got a lot of dates coming up. I'm going to be doing a tour with Tim Young, who is you might know him. He's a comedian. He's a political personality as well. We're going to be touring all over this great country this spring. So check out my website or his for dates coming up soon.
Well, you
like
have
in
to let me know that if you're in
Yes.
LA.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and Tim, we'll meet up. We'll circle up.
Okay. Yes, for sure. I will. This was so great, guys. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Super fun.
you.
Really enjoyable.
My God, the time just flew by.
I know. I can't believe you do this because our show's only half an hour, 45 minutes. I can't believe you do this kind of a thing 4 days a week. You're crazy.
It's I am doing this instead of getting in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
all right, guys. This was great.
Thank you.
Love you guys. See you on the next and also Union of the Unwanted twice a month.
That's live streamed Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern every other Monday. Yeah.
Yes. That's an awesome pod too.
Yeah.
Going into deep shit. All right. Love you guys. Bye.
See y'all later.